Hello and welcome to the Gravel Trap Podcast. I'm your host, Sean, with my fellow co hosts, Don and Zin. How's it going, guys?
It's going.
Cool, cool,
Going on.
cool. Alrighty. I guess I usually ask how everybody's weekend was going. Obviously, past weekend, both you guys participated in the iRacing 12 Hours of Sebring, different cars, different classes.
Same result, death.
Yeah, the sad same result that we usually get plagued with us. Again, you can change the name many different times, and we
Things matter.
still run into the same problems.
Try to go everything, start in the back, start dead last, lead up 4 or 5 spots for people dying, and then freaking guy hits the wall and decides, say, hey, let's see if the car goes straight, and I found it. Freaking give him, it was Mike Tyson, I gave him a Keith.
Was that the only major incident that you guys ran into?
I mean, I had some spins, but I never actually had any more X's than just one off tracks, and I left the car with my total only at 9. For my whole time was 9. Chris, on the other hand, had 25.
Oh no.
Matt had 19, and then Beans, I think, had like 8 or. But no, he had like 13 or 14. So the guy who everybody is always worried about, like Mr. Chris, had the least amount of everything, but Chris was just hip checking everything.
Well, to be fair, you are usually overly cautious,
Yeah.
which generally doesn't net you a lot of X's from your own driving. It's other people running into you that kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
or
But no, Chris was just killing everything.
he was the Mustang.
If there was a crowd, he was finding it.
All right, Zin, how did you and Derek do?
Uh, yeah, it was.
Eventful.
It was eventful.
He had a
it
really,
was.
really high and a really, really low. I could
Mhm.
hear Derek on the other side. I thought he was ready to grab a gun because he sounded so sad. All kidding, but no, he was so sad.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like we had great starting luck, if you will. We almost got on pole. We were like, I don't know, a tenth maybe off a pole. So I started the car and did 3 stints, and by the time I got out of the car, we had gotten the lead, and we were leading for like 47 or 45, something like that. A good handful of laps. And then Derek got in the car.
Then it went to sheep.
Can I finish telling my story? You told your story. I
Yeah,
get to
yeah,
tell
you
mine.
told your story. Let him finish his, even if it ends in a fireball.
It didn't end in a fireball. It just um but anyway, so yeah, I felt bad for Derek because he wasn't feeling well the week before. It was kind of mirroring what I went through before Daytona this year. Um, and so his pace wasn't what it was when he had been doing the practices and stuff the week prior. And so like I started against the other team's fast guys, and then like at the first pit stop they swapped in their slow guys, so I built up a gap to them, and then by the time Derek got in, the fast guys got back in. So it was kind of like we were running opposite strategies to them, but we had almost a lap on second place, because we had passed them, before they come out of the pits, and then they got a black flag for crossing the pit exit too early. So like things were really working in our favor, and of course, with the way luck always goes, in the back of my mind, I'm going, "When's the shoe gonna drop?" So anyway, so make a long story short, Derek's first stint, he gave up quite a bit of time to second place, which is down to nothing more than just wasn't feeling 100%. Totally understandable. His second stint, um, near the end, with about 5 laps to go, he turned around and got behind a GT car coming out of tower and got up on the curb, gassed it up, and it pitched the car sideways. He ended up hitting the wall. But we still had a little bit of luck on our side because on my screen, the rear clip blew off the car. But then as he drove away, it reattached itself, so it didn't actually get damaged. And the steering was only like 5 degrees off center, which
Okay.
I thought for sure like something was going to be busted in there. So we were like, okay, well, we'll turn around and just finish the stint out. Well, with 2 laps before he was supposed to pit and get onto the backstretch, and there's this Ferrari that's like fucking 80 laps down at this point. He's all the way right against the wall, and as Derek's coming up behind another GT car, this Ferrari just moves left, just like the Family Guy meme. Like, how long do I have to give notice to change lanes? Okay, I turn now. Good luck, everybody. Like, he just came across like we didn't exist.
Damn.
And then Derek drove in the grass to avoid him, and he just kept coming and coming. And Derek, was half on the grass, half not, and then ended up getting turned on the Ferrari's front end, and we got thrown into the wall, massive damage. It was like, I don't know, a 10-minute repair or something like that. And then, so that dropped us from second down to 8th, I think. 6, something like that. We went from having like a minute plus lead to now we were, I don't know, 5-6 laps down or something like that. So then I got in the car, did another 3 stints. I don't remember anything happening then. Then Derek got back in the car for his 3 stints while I went and got some lunch during one of those, or was eating lunch. I didn't go anywhere. And he turned around and was coming through Sunset, and there was a GT car, which, come to find out, reading YouTube comments from clips that have been sent in, that this GT car was a menace all race, no matter who was driving it.
Okay.
He either decided that he was going to pit from way to the outside, which the ironic thing is that, so we were in the same split as one of the Apex teams. So we were in there with the BMW team. So they had literally cleared this guy, and we were coming behind them out of 17. And so this purple Acura is just like in the middle of the road. And either he decided he was going to go to the pits from there, or he was just going to take a middle of the road approach, just very squared off line, whatever. Doesn't matter. Make a long story short, Derek turns around and gets hit towards pit lane. And so by this point, he's in pit in, like he's already passed the cones. And so he decides, okay, well, I'm just going to go ahead and pit. So he pits, changes tires, gasses up. And then on his out lap, turn 13, just locks the brakes and drives head on to the wall, which had another, I don't know, 6-something minute repair on it.
Oh, man.
I did make him laugh when you were gone, though, because as soon as he hit, he's like, I just hit the wall head on, and I was like, applied directly to the forehead. And he just stopped. He's like, he didn't know what to do. He was like laughing and crying at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oof.
I had to try to make him laugh. Sorry, Sid.
No, it's totally fine. It's just, like I said, one of those things where it just really kind of sucked. And not really a ton you can do about it. I mean, it's just the nature of these cold tires, which we'd been managing pretty well for
First time.
Yeah, throughout the race. So anyway, so we got that done. I got back in the car at that point. And then when Derek was gone, GTs were the bane of our existence this race. I had an issue where coming onto the front stretch, there was a P2 car passing a Mustang, and then I was coming up on both of them. Well, the Mustang was hanging left on the front straightaway because the P2 was passing him. Well, I went to go right to follow the P2 through, and here's this Mustang just slowly, lazily drifts over right in front of me. And so I'm like, well, I can't go right because I'm in the wall. So I go left to go around him, and he sees me at that point and then goes left, and I slam into the back of him. And then I played 8-ball with myself because I ping-ponged him into the wall, and he then proceeded to shoot back across the track and finish me off by hitting me into the wall.
Hey, at least it happened in front of a crowd. It was in front of a crowd.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was another 10 minutes worth of repairs. So long story short, we started out like gangbusters, and in typical fashion,
Died.
through no fault of our own, ended up finishing eighth or ninth, eighth, because somebody ended up dying later on, and we were on the same lap as seventh, but got a fucking black flag because of yet another GT. No, actually, this was a P2 car that in Le Mans I was left, and he got caught behind a GT car, and he moves left and hits me, and that was the final 4X to give me the second black flag. So Derek had the first black flag.
Derek gave
Damn.
freaking Beans a black flag because it scared the shit out of him of playing next gonna give it to him when he was
Yeah.
driving.
Because
He kept saying,
they were 2X's away from getting
Yep.
a black flag the first one.
Yep.
And so Bean's like, I've got 2X's. And so Derek played X gonna give it to him, and he proceeds to go off tracking. He's like, I got an off track for fucking nothing.
and he was like mad, but he was laughing at the same time. He's like,
Yeah.
he's like, basically, it's like, you guys are fucking idiots. Like, well,
Yeah.
you gotta race with us more than you know what the hell to expect.
Right. Yeah. Get in here more. Oh boy.
But it was,
yeah, so Beans filled in last minute for Jack, who couldn't race.
thank God. It would have been manageable with me and Matt, but it was great because Matt joined in the morning. He's like, so what's the stints? He's like, what are you? I'm like, it was literally a shit show. We were lucky to even do it. So I told him, we'll just keep bartering every time there's a pit stop. So that's what we were doing. Like I would do 2, then he would do 2, back and forth for a little bit.
Right.
But
So, do you remember where you guys ended up finishing, Don? Or
19th, we were 36
okay,
to
so
start. That last, and then not too bad. 17 spots we made up.
Okay.
We got up to high as 15th, but then and we had that scare tactic with our own teammate to scare him out, give him a heart attack. He only had 1X to deal with, and then somebody hip checked him and gave him a 2X. So we had to go down pit road and get the black flag served.
Right. And then where did you guys end up finishing, Zin?
Finished eighth.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I told you you would get it, but no.
No, you were saying seventh.
Yeah.
I was being optimistic. God damn it. Somebody has to be positive for a change.
Right. So yeah, it's kind of how our typical endurance races go.
Yeah. Didn't finish last though.
Caught up in
Shenanigans.
other people's messes. So
at least we kept our name proud and true to go team back in the pack for our race.
Right. And I think so that's kind of it for the team special events until May or June.
Yeah, I think.
Well, you guys have the ring, but then for Watkins Glen, June.
Yeah.
Well, and the majors is in between that, which we'll probably end up doing. Well, that'll just be a 1-car effort with all of us. So
for what?
24.
If we do majors.
Oh, I was thinking we'll have enough to do 2 cars, but
do we want to try to do 2 people or just have 1 car so that way, because everybody seems to be able to do it right now, but
yeah, right now we'll plan on 2, but we'll see how that evolves.
I just got to know the date for that one again.
Yeah, so Sean, you and I will have the special event on April 26th because that's the Road America 500.
Yeah.
But then beyond that, Nürburgring 24 is June 7th. Majors is June 21st, and then the following weekend is Watkins Glen 6 Hour on June 28th.
Right.
And then July 13th is Spa. So June and July are going to be action packed for team events. We're going to be over it by the time middle of July comes around.
Right. So.
All right. Yeah, we'll have to decide. I would like to at least attempt the Nürburgring 24. I know, Don, you won't do it, but
you can do it. It's like I said, you want to talk about a race that we're going to have absolutely no pressure for anything. That's the race.
Nope. That track gave me nightmares since that freaking Forza 2 days. Nope.
Time to conquer your fears.
Nope. Hate that track, burn it. Ugh. I agree with James, man. Anything that's designed to race to that track is rubbish.
Yeah, because you've driven something that's designed on the Nürburgring.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
no,
pretty
no,
sure the Dodge Avenger has not turned a lap on the
You don't
Nürburgring.
know that. I'll look it up on the internet. Is there...
Well, you go ahead and do that. Anyway, we're moving on to some other sim racing news. So the other day, Automobilista added the Super Trophy trucks to the game, which are the off-road trucks that are series that is owned by Robbie Gordon. They kind of go and tour around to different racing locations internationally and stuff. They generally add jumps to whatever course that they come to, whether it be Long Beach or Adelaide or Watkins Glen or whatnot. So it's kind of a fun and interesting series to look up. They have a YouTube channel and they're always posting clips and stuff from the races on there, along with, I think they broadcast some of the live races on there too. So, yeah. Anyway, they added them to Automobilista too. So we were playing around with them a little bit, and
Don't start your race on two wheels going off the side of the ramp, Matt.
yeah. Don learned to not hit the jump with only half the truck, and he also learned to make sure you have a pit limiter on, because otherwise you get disqualified.
Instantly, they get like as soon as you hit 1 mile an hour over it, instantly you get a black flag.
Yep.
It's like, what the fuck? I just tapped it. And it's like, no, you're booted.
So yeah. But like I said, they have tracks specifically designed for the trucks in the game. So that's fun. Another fun series to play around with in Automobilista 2.
Hopefully Derek can get it going.
Yeah, they're really adding the content for that game. There's tons of content for it. Yeah, Derek was having issues where the game doesn't recognize the Sim Magic pedals or something.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It was recognizing the buttons on the wheel, but it wasn't recognizing the rotation.
yeah, I don't know. There's some sort of setting
weird.
he has to set, because didn't Chris have to like set some sort of like inverted wheel or something like that to get it to work with that game? So, but anyway, so yeah, it's something else to check out. It's, like I said, fun to play around with. I did mess around with the AIs a little bit in offline mode. They work, but they generally do cause some problems going over the jumps and crashing. So it needs some ironing out.
At least it's something, but just preferably be fun just to do it online with people.
Right. Yeah. So continuing on with the sim racing news. This article is by traction.gg. So for those of you who know of the BeamNG franchise, they added kind of some rally modes and stuff last year to the game, with some static turn-by-turn displays. Well, now that they're adding a co-driver feature to the game. So you'll be able to have a co-driver voice alongside improved sounds for the newly inspired rally car. They also expect to see improved world building tools, as well as new drift track in the game. The game's next update, although exact details are yet to be announced for that. So yeah, for people who like to play around in BeamNG, just another feature added to the game as it continues to grow. So yeah, that's all I have for sim racing news. As we
Sorry, I
have
meant to update something.
2 Dons on the screen.
2 Dons?
Yeah, yeah. There's 2.
Oh,
There
Yeah,
it goes. That was
before
weird.
we move on to the actual racing news,
Ooh, yeah, just want to update something. Sorry.
it was also announced that as part of Forza's 20-year anniversary, Fujimi Kaido is going to make its long-awaited return to Forza Motorsport. That is set to come this May. It says that Turn 10 said it's the biggest track project ever being recreated for Forza Motorsport. It will be available in both standard and reverse layouts.
Interesting.
In addition, the May update will include highly requested cars, in addition to unlockable driver seats, special events, and themed rival challenges to celebrate the franchise's 20th anniversary in May. So we've seen a list of cars that supposedly are going to be included in the update. Unfortunately, we're not going to talk about it because it's not confirmed.
And we don't want to get people in trouble.
That too.
So,
but let's just say that if all of them on the list are in fact true and accurate, there's going to be a lot of people that will be very happy with the car list. So I, for one, will probably boot back up Forza just to clown around on Fujimi. Spend a lot of time on that map. Anything from soapbox races to, just what have you. It was a lot of fun. So looking forward to it. Hopefully by the time May comes around, I'll have a round wheel to go on this bad boy here, so I can actually do some drifting and whatnot. I don't know if I have my handbrake or not, but who cares? I'll just use my sequential as a handbrake.
there you go. Yeah, I've kind of played around with Forza a little bit, and then I haven't played it in probably about a month or so, but I don't know. It's fun to just pick back up, play for a little bit, and then kind of go, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean the screenshot that they shared of Fujimi is absolutely gorgeous. So definitely looking forward to it. We'll see what else comes with the May update, as well as when in May that will come out.
Right. Oh man, my connection is
Pooping.
flying all over the place. That's weird. Anyway. All right. We will move on to motorsport news. There it goes as it fixes itself. Yeah. Starting off with our first set of motorsport news, some on track stuff. Was the Formula One race in China for the Chinese Grand Prix. I wasn't able to watch the race as I was working, but I was able to catch a few of the highlights. Although by the posted clips on Formula One's YouTube channel, it didn't seem like there was a whole heck of a lot. Because the video was only like 5 minutes long. So, which pretty much just showed mostly the opening laps. So let's see here. I've got the opening laps. Leclerc hit the back of Hamilton, which ended up causing damage to his front wing. He would end up running the entire race on the front wing because they would cut in and out and talk about how even after a pit stop, he didn't choose to switch the rear wing instead of doing it even, like I said, even when they took a 4-tire pit stop. Unfortunately for Alonso, he ended up losing his brakes, which forced him to retire the car. Let's see here. At some point, Yuki Tsunoda had damage to his front wing. I don't know if it was a brace that broke on it or he had made contact with something. Just seemed like they were just showing a picture of it and they just watched it like basically like fold on itself.
Mm.
So damage to the front of his car for that. He did not. He also apparently didn't pit to get that fixed. Continue to finish the race with a broken front wing as well. And Oscar Piastri ended up coming away with the win of the race. So his first win in this season, kind of redeeming himself for not winning at his home race in Australia last weekend. So good for Piastri. This kind of sets up a early McLaren 1-2 in the points for drivers. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out through the rest of the year. Hamilton did come away with the win in the sprint race, so he did score some points for winning that. So that was interesting to see. Technically, I guess Hamilton got his first win for Ferrari already. So
Mm-hmm.
No, I can just blow up for the rest of the year.
Well, unfortunately, though, after the end of the GP race, Hamilton, Leclerc, and Gasly were disqualified. So Leclerc and Gasly were found to be underweight by 1 kilogram per car. Both Ferrari and Alpine admitted that there were no mitigation factors in their infringements. During the hearing, there was no challenge to the FIA's measurements, which are taken to be correct, and that all required procedures were performed correctly. The stewards wrote related to both teams. There are no mitigating circumstances, and the team confirmed that it was a genuine error by them. Also, Hamilton's car had issues to the dive plane or the legality plank on the car. It was apparently under the legal amount of wear rate. Again, Ferrari stated that they weren't going to oppose the decision, stating that the stewards did everything correctly and confirmed that the measurements were correct. And the team acknowledged that they weren't going to protest it either. So both Ferraris and Gasly's car were disqualified from the race.
Womp womp.
So, and then apparently being reported today as Formula One news. This article is from ESPN. It says Red Bull has decided to replace Liam Lawson with Japanese driver Yuki Tsunoda, according to multiple reports today. Dutch newspaper Die Telegraaf and Die Limburg reported Honda-backed Tsunoda would swap seats with New Zealander Lawson as Max Verstappen's teammate from next week's Japanese Grand Prix after a Red Bull meeting in Dubai. Says due to Lawson's Lawson's poor start at the beginning of the season has forced this meeting by Red Bull, and apparently it's supposed to be confirmed later this week or early next week. So, yeah, if basically it sounds like they're not happy with Lawson's performance, and they're making a switch rather than trying to wait later in the season and recovering from some sort of deficit. So, I don't know. If multiple news sources are reporting on it and ESPN's reporting on it, it's probably a done deal.
Unfortunately.
So
dumb.
I don't know. That second seat seems to be cursed. So.
Well, the problem is they keep setting up every freaking car like Verstappen's doing, and then everybody drives like Verstappen. So I don't know why they keep doing that.
Yeah, I mean, you got to set the car up for whoever's the fastest. I mean, not saying that every car needs to be set up that way, but I mean, if if it's working with one driver and they were winning all the time,
There.
I don't know.
But still, it's still.
Yeah, I don't got anything else to add to it.
No.
So.
Just not surprised by that.
He didn't perform when he was with the junior team last season when he replaced Ricardo. So I mean, I said it when the news broke, or I guess when it was announced that the seat was up for grabs because Perez wasn't returning, that it should have been Tsunoda all along. But
right.
The problem is like most teams, the car's predominantly set up towards the number one driver, so it's just going to depend on whether Tsunoda can get acclimated to the car or not. I'll be interested to see the dynamic between Tsunoda and Verstappen. I feel like they probably get along pretty well. I mean, when Honda did their promo stuff before the Vegas Grand Prix last year, I don't think Lawson was invited to that. It was Tsunoda, Perez, and Verstappen. To look that up, actually. Maybe it was.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing Lawson at it. I think it was just those three. So, but yeah,
other people there, but
well, yeah, because they had they also had the Honda Super Formula driver there, which eventually would run. He did run in the 24 Hours of Daytona. So
yeah, what's the hell's his name? Yono or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh no, Lawson was there. Okay. They were. Yeah, Lawson drove an Integra Type S, but Tsunoda drove the IndyCar.
Yeah.
So I'm like, Perez was stuck in the CRV Hybrid Beast. Meanwhile, Verstappen was in the Acura GTP. So it's like, to me, you kind of get an idea of, what they think of each driver based on what they were allowed to drive.
Right.
So, yeah, this is to add to that. This is according to GP Blog, just because this was the headline that popped up when I was searching for the Vegas thing. Anyway, so it says that Tsunoda would become Verstappen's teammate with immediate effect. Red Bull has decided to replace Liam Lawson with the Japanese driver from his home Grand Prix onwards, with Honda expected to pay millions to the team. Red Bull has not given any official confirmation about a switch between drivers, though it is known that a meeting was taking place in Dubai after Lawson struggled to make an impact at the Chinese Grand Prix. The New Zealander qualified last for both the sprint and the main Grand Prix, with speculation about his future starting in the wake of yet another scoreless weekend. Which, I mean, when you think about it compared to, or in the perspective of how things went last year, Red Bull's looking at it from a constructor's perspective. They can't afford to be in a hole to McLaren and Ferrari.
Yeah, considering McLaren's already come out McLaren's already come out winning the first two races. I mean,
yeah, apparently Lawson will go back to the Racing Bulls team, so it'll be a straight seat swap, which puts to end rumors of a switch to sister team Alpine with Franco Colapinto, who's the Alpine reserve driver, moving into the Racing Bull seat, and Lawson moving into the reserve capacity at Alpine.
All right. Well, like I said, we'll have to see how that plays out for the Japanese Grand Prix. But like I said, hopefully Yuki can get up to speed fairly quickly with the car.
I mean, even if he's able to run like fifth or sixth, I mean, just bring in
just bring in points.
Yeah, and take points away from others. I mean, that's really the primary objective of a number two is, steal points away from the other guys.
Right.
But I'm a fan of Yuki. I like him, so I'm hoping that he gets along well in the car. and he's able to show what he's got. So
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't initially a fan with him when he first came into Formula One, but yeah, I feel like if anybody technically deserves to have the second seat, then it should be Yuki since Ricardo isn't there. So I mean, that
Yeah.
just seemed like the proper move. Give him a chance. I mean, let him see what he can do. I mean, if he doesn't do any better than Lawson, then I mean, then they can talk about what they want to do after that. But as the technically the next most senior driver for the team, that should have been an instant move right away. So
and the other thing that I just realized is that this is going to be the last year. Well, I mean, I think they're supplying other teams, but anyway, this will be the last year with Honda engines in the back of the Red Bull. So, they're definitely going to be gunning for a big result at the Japanese Grand Prix.
right.
Um, and speaking of engines, not to get too far off the topic, but apparently, as of 2 days ago, the FIA is in talks with F1 teams and engine manufacturers about introducing a new V10 engine formula, possibly as early as 2028. Earlier this year, FIA President Mohammed bin Salem said the governing body was considering a cheaper and simpler engine format for the future, which included the roaring sound of a V10 running on sustainable
God.
fuel. So
No kidding.
2026 F1 cars are still going to be powered by a V6 turbo hybrid like they are currently, with a 50-50 split of electric and internal combustion power, which is also necessitated in all new chassis and aero regulations. Um, those power units were intended to be in place for 5 years. However, Nicholas Tombazis, who's the FIA's head of single seaters, said discussions are underway about possibly switching to a different engine platform in a shorter time span. Um, Cost is said to be a key talking point as well. Um, According to the article, this is according to ESPN, the possibility of an early switch to V10s has led to suggestions F1 might abandon its 2026 formula entirely and continue with the current power units in an intervening period to save on development costs. Such a move seems incredibly unlikely, however, not least because it would require unanimous agreement from power unit manufacturers, all of which who have committed resources to new regulations. So, looking at Cadillac, looking at Audi, looking at Ford, all those guys are coming in at the start of 26 with the new regulations. So, yeah. So it appears that they are serious about pursuing a potential return to V10s.
I mean, if you want to do a gesture of goodwill towards your fans, you go back to the V10s.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, granted, you might have to look at some of your engine manufacturers that are coming in and going,
Success
hey,
story.
I mean, we understand you committed to this, but for longevity of the sport, popularity of the sport, possibly increased fan and increased revenue, we might have to flip the cost up front, but in the overall greater good of the series, I mean, V10s would definitely be the way to go. I mean, that it's kind of a meme. The was that Kimi Räikkönen or Fernando Alonso that was when the was commenting about the motors like mid race or something like that, where he said he wanted the V10s back.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it was Kimmy.
Kimi, and then I mean, I always see the meme floating or the GIF floating around or whatever of the interview that Lewis Hamilton's doing, like mid interview, and he hears the Alonso driving the V10 Renault around, and he just like stops his interview and is just like, man, that thing is beautiful.
Yeah.
So, like I said, you you want to do the ultimate goodwill for your fans, go back to the V10s.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you can have a V10 hybrid. I mean, that's not, it's not out of the possibility.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Moving on to some more motorsport news. This past weekend, IndyCar was at the Thermal Club.
Track sucks. I'm sorry.
Anyway, so some highlights I've got from that race. Before they even took the green, Devlin DeFrancesco and Scotty Mack made contact with each other, spinning both of them out.
Weird thing.
Yeah. Scott came up to Devlin after the race and kind of got in his face and was very frustrated, which is justified, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what was going on there. It was just very weird, like you said, Zin. Very, very weird crash.
To me, they were both at fault, but they each were justified in being pissed at the other person. Because when you watch Scotty Max on board, he's lagging back, and then he just absolutely guns it to catch up, which, of course, then it was DeFrancesco, right?
Yeah, DeFrancesco was on the inside of him.
He's gunning it as well to catch back up because they're supposed to be side by side. Like, that's something that, race control is going to review, is to make sure that everybody's lined up, they're side by side, the whole 9 yards. And so he's hauling ass, and then he gets on. It looked like he got on the inside curb or locked a brake or whatever, because by the time he gets up to him, they're making that final, couple corners or whatever come into the green. And so, DeFrancesco's rightfully pissed at McLaughlin because he's like, dude, you just like took off, like you hang way back and then you just fucking floor it, and then I got to haul ass to catch up to you so that we're supposed to be side by side here. And Scotty Max pissed because it's like, well, dude, you just drove into me for no fucking reason, So, like I said, to me, as an outside person, even as a fan of Scotty Mack, they're both at fault. They both, understandably are pissed at the other guy, but they both need to take a step back and go, hey, I played a part in that, sorry. But yeah, it just, especially caliber driver that Scotty Mack is, one, you don't expect him to be back there to begin with, but two, to have such a weird thing happen.
Right. Right. So yeah, that was before we even took the green. Then the cars took the green. Callum Ilott in the new Prema team ran into the back of his teammate and took off his front wing, which that's, the first thing you don't do is wreck your teammate or run into your teammate. So he already broke the golden rule.
Yeah. High five.
Yeah, which forced him to pits. Let's see. Ericsson ended up having a spin off track. Due to the layout of the track, it's pretty much just all dirt off track. There's no grass or anything out there. So that kicked up a huge cloud of dirt. And then, unfortunately for Scott McLaughlin, he ended up having overheating issues with his hybrid unit, which apparently once that happens, they can't even start the car. So it just goes into full shutdown mode. So whether that was from combination of the heat or maybe, dirt getting kicked up into the radiator and just overheating the car, was unfortunate to see. And then probably the biggest talking point is Fox is the broadcast cutting completely out. Initially, there was some finger pointing from IndyCar at Thermal Club saying that Thermal Club lost power. But Thermal Club reported that they did not lose any power and that it was on the broadcast side. So some people were thinking it was Fox having issues with the broadcast. Well, Fox came out and said they released a statement saying, "Hey, we just broadcast the race on our channels. We don't do any of the actual legwork for the broadcast. It's all IndyCar's internal media group that does all the cameras and all that stuff. All Fox does is just send it out to their TV partners to show it on cable or local Fox or whatever they do." So, which then IndyCar then finally owned up and said, yeah, they had a circuit breaker overheat and blow back at the main facility, which is actually at IMS itself, which caused the broadcast to be cut. So yeah, some classic Spider-Man finger pointing memes going on there. When it turns out it was IndyCar all along that had the failure. So, but yeah, it was interesting to just like I said, I was at work, so all I was doing was looking at tweets, and all of a sudden I just see tweets popping up saying, "No, F IndyCar, F Fox, like the broadcast is gone. We're watching NASCAR on an IndyCar thing," because that's what they did. Fox had, for a temporary time being, they had no communication from IndyCar, so they just cut straight to the NASCAR race, and we're showing that.
That was fantastic, and then it cuts right back to IndyCar later.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I don't remember if they like made an announcement saying that they were even cutting back to the IndyCar race.
No, they just jumped back. So once the fuse box got replaced and power was restored. So but anyway, it came back with towards the end of the race. Kind of the other big talking point was Alex Palou on a softer set of tires, and just how fast he was running down the two McLaren drivers. He ended up battling hard against Lundgaard, did get around him, and then was able to run down Award and pass him for the lead. That was, I mean, all three drivers were battling hard, showing lots of respect to each other. No contact or like any sort of off-track driving or anything. It was, I mean, it was honestly pretty impressive to watch. A legitimate battle towards the end of the race. Palou did end up coming away with the win. Another note was Will Power starting towards the back. He ended up finishing like 6th. So like monster points day for him, considering he started damn near last in the grid. He had gained something like 16 positions, so that was crazy to see. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the debate that's been going on now is, does Thermal Club need to stay on the schedule? Should it not stay on the schedule? I mean,
no.
You know, from a racing perspective, it was a decent race. It had, I mean, the tire strategies were interesting to see. But like I said, from a spectator fan perspective, they got to do something. Even if they got to haul in temporary grandstands or something to get people in there, because it just looks, it just looks dull, like with no fans being there. I mean, there are fans there, but you have to pay a astronomical fee to even get to the race to see it. It's like I said, if they just allowed people to get into the track and go there, it might look better on TV than what it does. But that's my
The
opinion.
the problem, in my opinion, is that okay, this particular year the racing was okay, tolerable. That's the word I'll use.
Right.
You can go to a different road course and have the same result. Like it's not necessarily a testament to the track, it's a testament to the driver pool that we have in IndyCar that it put on a decent show even at a poor track like that.
Well, and I
um
mean, and that's not a negative. Like,
Mhm.
no, it's not a negative to IndyCar. It's a negative to I don't know. I would say it's a negative to the track, but
Mhm.
my point is that you could turn around and go to a Sonoma, you could go to a Coda, and you would have the same, if not better, racing throughout the entire field instead of just a battle for the lead and everybody else is kind of in a processional. So, like you would
I
have the same
there were other
strategy
battles going
element,
on, but
and you wouldn't have to make exceptions to be able to get the fans there.
right.
Um, it's hell, like somebody said, you've got all this hype that was put into the season, and all the buildup that came from going to St. Pete, and then it's like you have a great race at St. Pete, and then nothing, and
Yeah.
then you have a decent race at Thermal, and nothing, and it's just these big gaps, basically all the way from the start of the season until May, and then from May to August or September, it's just bang, 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 bang.
Well, yeah, April will be Long Beach.
Well, yeah, and I mean,
But yeah, I do agree that they need to have something in this block.
Mhm.
Whether they stay in California and I mean, go to Sonoma. I mean, if you want to keep the teams, keep the cost down, go to a Sonoma.
I mean, it,
Um,
it would have been great. Obviously, you can't do it because Auto Club doesn't exist anymore. But if you turn around and say, okay, you start the season beginning of March, St. Petersburg, and then you head out west and you do, a triple header. You've got Thermal Club on the second or third weekend of March, and then a week later you go to Auto Club for the first oval of the season, and then 2 weeks later you're up at Sonoma, or you're at Long Beach, um, and then you go to Sonoma from there, and then you head to Barber, and then up to Indianapolis for the month of May.
mhm.
Or you turn around and obviously I'm biased, but my preferred option, which is you start St. Petersburg first weekend of March, next weekend or a couple weekends later you're at Coda,
Coda
and
or
then
Texas, because Texas doesn't have a race going on right now.
yeah, true.
And it's not going to be 900 million degrees
Yeah.
at Texas Motor Speedway, so you can put on a decent race. Hell, I mean, if you want a cooler race and have the engines make a little bit more power, you do a night race
Yeah, I
and
mean the
stuff.
the race I went to at Texas was a night race and it was great.
Or, I mean, say because some dumb NASCAR reason you can't do Texas. Yeah, like you said, you've got Coda, and
I mean,
hell,
the advantage you have of going to Coda in March is that even if it rains, which is a high likelihood in Texas in March, you can run. I mean, hell, the one and only race they ran at Coda was a rain race.
mhm.
So, but yeah, you turn around, you stop at Coda, and then you go to, then you can go out to Thermal, and do that before Long Beach.
I
But I
mean,
mean,
and also I know IndyCar technically that's got a kind of a bad taste in IndyCar's mouth. I mean, you also have Vegas out here too.
yeah.
I mean, they've made massive improvements to the car since the unfortunate passing of
Hell,
Dan.
you could, and it's only 3 more hours to go up to Utah Motorsport Campus,
Yeah.
which I think they've ran once before.
Might have been in the kart days.
Yeah, that might be what I'm thinking of. But anyway, like this bullshit of you've got 3
20
races in 6 weeks, you know.
Yeah, because what if you go? Yeah, because I'll go to IndyCar's website right now. And
Sorry, 7 weeks. 3 races
yeah,
in 7
the fact
weeks.
that we have 18 days until the next race.
Yeah. And they're well, let's see. Google Maps. I need your help.
They can't make it the season too short too. Like it's like what, only
Oh,
16 races,
fuck.
18 races.
Well, IndyCar's reasoning behind that is they don't want to run up against the NFL because not only are they already having to compete against NASCAR, but once NFL starts,
Yeah, it's harder.
they've got a bigger problem to deal with.
It is
But-
2.5 hours from Thermal to Long Beach, and we've got to wait 3 weeks for that fucking race.
Right.
It's stupid.
Yeah. Like you said, they can.
I mean, they're running on back-to-back weeks as it is when they go through May and June just to get all the races in.
Mhm.
Right.
I mean, you turn around and you go, okay, they run the Indy 500 on May 25th. And then the very next weekend, they're running the Detroit Grand Prix. That's the same basic difference as it is to go from Thermal to Long Beach,
Yeah.
you know, or
making
if
sense.
if Auto Club was still around, you know, so you could turn around and shift it to where you're running a race every 2 weeks at minimum, or you do back-to-back weeks. You know, the only thing
Right.
that I could understand is not doing back-to-back weeks at the beginning of the season, especially with an oval race, in that they're on the West Coast. Most of the shops are around Indianapolis and whatnot. If they've got to get a spare tub out there, totally understand that. But at minimum, you can do 2 weeks between races at the start of the
Mhm.
season.
Right.
You know, not have 3 races in 7 weeks. It's just
Right.
stupid.
Right. Yeah, it's again, that's
I
dumb.
mean, it's like here, they're running back-to-back weeks. They run Gateway, and then the very next weekend, they're at Road America.
Right.
And then they go to Mid-Ohio, and then they're at Iowa back-to-back weeks. Oh, it's actually a triple header because they do Mid-Ohio, Iowa, and then Toronto. 3 straight weeks,
Yeah.
3 straight races.
Yep.
Actually,
Yeah, and then
no,
they
it's
got to
4
come
weeks.
they got to come all the way back to the West Coast to do Laguna Seca. I
Yeah,
mean,
and that's the very next week after Toronto.
yeah, I mean,
But you can't pack the beginning of like that's the thing, is that there is enough time if they are trying to get this thing capped off and done by the time NFL season starts. They just like, you could have another race in this schedule and still meet the deadline.
mhm,
Hell, you could probably fit 2 in here if you really tried.
right.
And that's still keeping Thermal. It's not doing 2 with one of them replacing Thermal, as much as I
Right.
would love to see it replaced. But
Right. Yeah, because I mean, thermal. I just don't. I mean, we don't see thermal getting replaced anytime soon because thermal's actually paying IndyCar to go there. So
yeah, I
that's
get it. But like I said, you could fit. You know, I'll be curious on the 2026 schedule, because we know that like the Arlington Grand Prix is coming. So it's like, is that replacing a round? Is it an additional round somewhere?
I mean, it sounds like it's going to be at the beginning part of the schedule. That's what the early notice is. So I mean, if you absolutely have to do Arlington, please put it in between. I mean, I would say make it the second race of the year and then go out to thermal the following week. At least that gives you more of a, or not following week, but at the 2 weeks after that, because then that at least gives you.
It will take place March 13th through the 15th, 2026.
Okay, so that's literally in between St. Pete and thermal.
Yeah, that would theoretically be the week before Thermal, which they could have done this year at fucking Coda, because there was nothing going on this past week or last weekend,
Right.
2 weeks ago, whatever.
So
Because like, you had NASCAR at the end of February, and you don't have MotoGP until this weekend.
right. So
Like, I
Yeah.
don't know what the hell broke down between IndyCar and Coda, but. To have a one and done and the one race you have there is a banger, eesh, man. Somebody
Right.
dropped the ball on that one.
No kidding. But anyway, that's enough about IndyCar news for now. And we'll come back to it again when we do the Long Beach Grand Prix.
That's what I think of that, Chris.
Anyway, moving on to NASCAR at Homestead.
Speaking of a banger race.
Yeah. 1.5 miles for NASCAR, knocking it out of the park. So some highlights I've got here. Wallace and Cindric make contact close to the beginning of the race, but they keep going. Unfortunately, Christopher Bell had a spin coming off turn 4, bringing out the yellow. Of course, I had him in my driver picks. So,
Oops.
of course, he had to bite it.
Way to go.
Yeah, I know. Hey, I had Wallace and Cindric, and they both ended up having decent days. So, Blaney ended up taking stage 1. Let's see here. During stage 2, or actually underneath the while everybody was pitting, Josh Berry and Joey Logano ended up making contact in the pits and spinning. I think Larson also got some slight damage from this. But as we will see later on, that didn't really hinder him at all. Let's see here. Then during green flag pit stops, during stage 2, Suarez ended up spinning and coming onto pit road. So
I think
unfortunately
he hit
for
backwards,
Suarez.
didn't he?
What's that?
I think he pitted backwards, didn't he?
I don't think so. I thought I saw him get his car turned around and
Okay.
going, but there was no yellow for that. He just spun by
Right.
himself. Let's see here. Denny Hamlin having a good day. Ended up taking away stage 2, so getting some bonus stage points for the championship. And then unfortunately for Blaney,
Boom shakalaka.
yep, everything came unraveled. He ended up blowing a motor for the second time this year.
Yeah.
Unfortunate to see for him.
Fast, but just a timed bomb.
Yeah, I don't know. They
It's like
freaking
Dale
need to get them
Earnhardt.
engines. Yeah, need to get them engines figured out.
It's DEI all over again.
I love seeing engines blow up. As long as they're not the drivers that I support.
Yeah.
Wrong team blew up.
I mean, at least they were trying to push something with those motors. So it's usually
Right.
what happens when they fail. It means that they were trying to push the
Testing
limits or
something.
something.
Yeah.
So, and then yeah, Kyle Larson ended up coming away with the win. So
Boo.
Team Chevy getting a win.
Yeah, Chevy, but boo him.
So,
He
good.
was, like, I thought, did they not all pit at the same time? Because I thought that they did. Or maybe it was just Bowman and
No,
Wallace
they
that
were
pit at
on.
the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, there
Um,
were a couple different teams on some different pit strategies. Some teams were electing to basically like cut the stages in half
Mm-hmm.
and go that way, which meant they had to be a little more kind of like a medium conservation on tires. And then some teams were choosing to run real long into the fuel stint on one
And then
set.
burn up the short. Yeah.
Yeah, and then kind of have a shorter stint towards the end to use it to have more tire to play with. So but Larson ended up having, I know they said that he ended up having less laps on his tires than some of the guys in front of him, which made him have some more maneuverability to get around a lot of people. So but yeah, like I said, Larson came away with the victory. Also, there was that yes or Sunday night of the race, there was Kyle Busch had put out a little tweet about some sort of announcement for yesterday that ended up being announcing that him and Brexton are going to be running with each other starting at Millbridge. And then it sounds like they're going to do a couple other races against each other throughout the year, possibly culminating in a late model stock race at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's going to be at Florence in November at the end of the year. But yeah, it sounds like Kyle wants to do some more races to run against Brexton. So it should be interesting to see.
5 races on.
I mean, I don't know.
I'll show you one.
Brexton did say that he does have more wins this season. So
Oof.
he's already throwing shade at his dad. So that's funny. Let's see here. Yeah, that's all I've got for on track stuff. Quick shout out to Jimmy Broadbent, won his class for the NLS race
Oh, cool.
this past weekend. So yeah.
Not just Jimmy, but Steve and Misha and the other guy too. I forget his name.
Yeah. So
It
it was funny.
Alonzo and Wayne Taylor here, where it was just Alonzo doing stuff.
Right. I did kind of tune in and watch the broadcast for a little bit on, was that Saturday or Sunday? But yeah, they were so I just kind of tuned in and out of that, watching it a little bit. They had some sort of accident while I was watching it, because there was like a massive code 60 in one of the sectors and stuff where the drivers had to slow down for it. So
Oops.
Hopefully Steve wasn't in the car this time.
no, it was not.
If you know, you know.
Yep. So yeah, that's all I've got for on track action. And another some off track news here. This article is by Sports Car 365, but the McLaren Trophy is set for a U.S. debut at Sonoma. 15 McLaren Artura Trophy Evo cars are set for the first 2 rounds at Sonoma. This coming weekend, this is to take place during the SRO race that's happening out there as well. Apparently there's like 31, little side note, there's like 31 GR Cup cars that are supposed to be competing this weekend too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be oh man, that's going to be chaos.
Absolutely.
So yeah, the building off the SRO Group's organized McLaren Trophy Europe, which debuted in 2023. The North American-based single make series will feature 5 SRO American weekends this year, beginning in Northern California. The entry list includes veteran of U.S. sports car racing, including Flying Lizard Motorsports, GMG Racing, Riley Motorsports, and well-known drivers in the American paddocks, including Eric Figueroas, John Capistro, and James Sofranis. Teams have the option of running 1 or 2 drivers per car, and for 50-minute races, which will mandate pit stops, while there will be 3 classes in competition: Pro-Am, and Am. Previously announced Flying Lizard fields a pair of McLarens for the driver pairings of George Lawrence and Spencer Bucknam, and Brandon Kuntz, and Cannon O'Connell, the former which is confirmed for the Pro-Am class. They're joined by long-term SRO competitors Tech Sport, which sees Colin Harrison drive a solo, and Am. GMG will have a pair of Trophy Evos, which will also have Casey King with team owner Safranis driving solo in a second class. 3-time SRO American champion Figueroa will team up with longtime supporter Tom Kopinski in a Riley run McLaren and Pro-Am. Longtime McLaren operator Motorsports in action. We'll have Jesse Lazaire and Alexander Hanier in Pro-Am. While fellow IMSA competitor Forte Racing will field Neil Langberg and Kevin Madsen in the RP Motorsports backed entry. Skip Barber will also have a pair of cars in the class as well, along with Aero B Motorsports. Other teams set for first 2 rounds include Dark Horse Racing, RWE Motorsports. Let's see here, Orlando Motorsports and Hooper Street Racing. McLaren Trophy entries will have a 60-minute test session on Thursday prior to 2 45-minute official practice sessions on Friday, with split qualifying sessions for race 1 and 2. The first round is set for Saturday, 12 p.m. PST, and the second race will be 10 a.m. on Sunday. Both races will be streamed on SRO's channels on YouTube, along with the official McLaren Automotive YouTube channel. So yeah, if you don't got anything going on this weekend, want to check out some different racing or some cup racing, yeah, check out the McLaren Trophy.
It's crazy to see how many different programs Tech Sports had over the years. They ran BRZs in TC America. I think they had one of the Nissan Z GT4 cars last year, 2 years ago. The Flying Lizard's the only one that still has that car.
Right.
Now they're running a McLaren Artura in the Trophy series. Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, especially Flying Lizard too. They kind of bounce around to a little bit of everything. So
I mean, their mantra has been, if you come to us with a check, we'll run it for you. So,
right. Yeah. You show up with the means, we'll show up with the race.
That's their response to everybody that tells them they need to go back to running IMSA. And they're like, well, if we have a client that wants to come, so
yeah, because they did do the Long Beach race they did do the Long Beach race last year. So in the Aston Martin. So, but yeah,
they've got the Nissan GT4. They've got an Aston GT4. The Aston, pretty sure they still have the Aston GT3. Lamborghini Super Trofeo. Now the McLaren Artura Trophy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you got money and you want to go race, hit up Flying Lizard.
That's who I'd turn to. If I ever win the lottery, I won't tell anybody, but there will be signs.
Flying Lizard coming to Top Flight Prototype Racing.
Exactly.
In a Porsche.
Exactly. I'll just have a trailer outside my house with Flying Lizard on it.
Yeah. You guys remember when you ran the Riley chassis for GTP or for GT Daytona? Guess what? It's going to be just like that, but on a Porsche GTP.
Yep. I'm gonna need you to call up Thomas Laudenbach in Germany and get a car ordered, please.
Yep.
We're about to form Back in the Pack Racing, where we finish behind the GT cars on pace alone.
So
we got the beer for the visitors. So
yeah. So yeah, that's all I've got for motorsport news. I don't know, unless you guys got anything else.
No, I was just going to mention that, this weekend we've got round 1 for GT World Challenge America at Sonoma, on top of our other usual things that we talk about. So,
yeah, NASCAR will be at Martinsville this weekend.
Martinsville for a short track of the, Clash. Which
they are bringing the rain tires.
in
Will
case
it
it
rain?
rains, or
Yeah.
because it's
Yes.
forecast to rain?
Because it's supposed to be forecasting to rain this weekend there.
Yeah.
So, and they are also bringing that ultra soft red tire that they ran at Phoenix.
Mm.
Oh, there you go.
So we'll have the ultra
Oh.
soft tire and the rain tires this weekend at Martinsville. So we'll see what kind of racing that produces.
Shit show. A
Yeah,
good
like I
shit
said,
show, but
yeah, we got SRO. Yeah, that's kind of it because IMSA's still off until
Long Beach.
Long
Second week of
Beach. IndyCar's
April.
off Long Beach.
F1's off for 2 weeks.
F1's off for 2 weeks until they come back to for the Japanese Grand Prix.
I think it's the same weekend as Long Beach Grand Prix.
Yeah, I think so too. So yeah, I'm sure we'll have more off-track motorsport news to talk about. Definitely some more sim racing news. I'm sure there'll be articles and peripherals that'll pop up as they usually do.
Yeah, there'll be a there's a patch 2 coming for iRacing on Thursday, so wonder if they'll be addressing any of these issues with performance with the new lighting changes that they made.
Right.
I have seen several people, so it's not just a one-off, but people are saying that if you are on an Intel CPU, and I'm curious to try this on my AMD, apparently if you have cores that are parked, which people have done previously for improving performance, apparently if you unpark them with this latest iRacing update, folks have been getting anywhere from 40 to 50 FPS.
I mean, I do have mine unparked. I
Okay.
remember that was a thing that was happening quite a while ago. So I went in and unparked all my cores. So maybe that's one of the reasons why I'm getting the better FPS performance.
Possibly,
So-
but because I know with my X3D CPU from AMD, because I've got a 7900 X3D, the talk was that you had to park the cores so that it would force the game over to the die that had the 3D cache, and you got the performance from it. So but I'm wondering if the same benefit that people are seeing on Intel would also work with AMD in this particular use case. That maybe it's just going off of raw compute power versus that usual uplift you see with the 3D cache that AMD has benefited from, year after year, or release after release. So, something to try. I haven't tried it yet. I might try it sometime this week if I get the time. But just if you've got an Intel CPU and you've got park cores and you're getting crap FPS results at Sebring or elsewhere after the Season 2 update, give it a shot and see if you get any performance back.
Yeah, there are tutorial videos out there to show you how to unpark those cores. I can't remember, who the video I watched. I think it might have been and it was one of the iRacing. I think I can't remember. It was like a Dan Suzuki or a Dave Cam video or something like that showed me how to unpark the cores for that. I remember watching it, and just it's a couple things, 1-2 things you got to check mark, and then obviously restart the computer, and you're good to go. So, again, we will talk to everybody next week. So, see you later. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Okie dokie.
Hop back on the Discord.